themselves, you may want to mute yourself. And I would encourage to make sure that everyone is muted. We will be muting you in case you have questions. I would encourage, put it in the chat. We will consolidate that towards the end. 10 minutes will be dedicated for question and answers. And we will try to make sure that all the questions are being answered. Again, be cautious, mute yourself. I know it's Saturday, we are at home. Just want to make sure that and respect the speaker who's there and sharing their knowledge. I will hand it over to Gary Pasricha. He's the one who started all this journey. So Gary, I would like to invite you to talk about a few minutes on PCC and what we are doing in PCC.
Yeah, thank you, Raveesh, Parminder, and the rest of the committee members in particular at the PCC Greater DC, which, as you guys may know, was really our first chapter outside of the tri-state New York, New Jersey area, right? So just a brief background for those of you who don't know much about the Punjabi Chamber. The Punjabi Chamber was formed about 3 years ago, really to bring our community together. We saw that it was fragmented, and we saw that we didn't really have a focus point for our community, and more importantly for our children as they're progressing in this country and even within India itself. So we went to the Punjabi community here and we raised a decent amount of money, and we said we want to make an organization which really has a dedication for our community only. And so we said, okay, no religion, no politics, and let's just develop a platform that's really meant to help us. And so we did that, and we were able to raise a decent amount of money for that purpose. So this is a free platform. This is a platform that is not really interested in raising money, and we are really here to help our members and our children. So a few of the small things that the platform features is that there is a online directory, there is a in-app messaging feature. Now we just started with a classified system also. So now if you want to find someone within your network, or somebody, for example, a CA or CPA in the greater DC area, then you can look for one and try to promote business within our community. Another feature of our platform, very briefly, is that we believe, of course, of giving back to our communities. So we did start the Punjabi Chamber Foundation, which is a charitable arm of the PCC. And so we're helping people during this COVID-19 crisis. We've raised over $35,000, and we've been giving back to our communities. And so it's been a wonderful feature of our network. And shortly, we have right now 13 chapters. And so, we have one launching today in Toronto. And so we have quite a few chapters worldwide. And I encourage you to go to our website, punjabichamber.com. And hopefully, we'd like you guys to join and become a part of this. And looking forward to this wonderful webinar that you guys have planned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate your, sharing your thought process. I will quickly move on to our speaker today, Rajiv ji. Thank you very much for joining us today and obviously sharing the the knowledge that you have regarding your industry. So I think this session would be helpful for all the folks who have applied for PPP loan. And I am not an expert, but quickly, handing over to Rajiv ji. First of all, thank you very much for doing this. And day we started the chapter, Rajiv ji has been very instrumental in coming up with the ideas and taking initiative to showcase how everyone can contribute to our community. So over to Rajiv ji.
Thank you, Raveesh ji. Let me share. Can you unshare your screen? Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, hold on a sec. Yeah,
Can
we can
everybody
see
can
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Gary Paji and Raveesh for putting this together. And I think, as Raveesh said, we all come from the same community, from same background, and I think our common goal is to help our community and particularly our children. And therefore, this is just a start for this Washington DC chapter, and this is the first event, of course. And likewise, we'll be putting together so many different seminars in a different discipline to help our community. So just not to, I know it's a Saturday morning, the weather is very nice out there, so I won't hold anybody too long, and it is an important topic, and I'll try to dissect that topic in a most simplest format, even though it is very complicated. So I'll make it in such a consumable format so that each one of you who has been impacted by the coronavirus and are in business, and either they have already applied for PPP money or they will be applying for PPP money, and then what happened next? Because there has been a sort of a rat race, because one person applied for PPP, another person said, okay, let me apply as well. So without recognizing why we should even apply for PPP, and even if we apply for PPP, what happened next? So I'm going to try to explain all those nuance around those PPP and try to make it a little simpler so that we can digest it very well, and then take those scenarios into our personal business and see how it applies. Because I try to cover in a more in generic format, but I'm sure it does apply to many of us who are on the call today. So just review this one from your business perspective, and of course, if you do have any questions, just post your question in the chat, and we'll take all those questions at the end. And many of the questions may get answered as we progress the presentation. So hold on to your thought. If you have anything, write it down on your piece of paper or write on the chat. Don't lose your thought. No question is a bad question. Every question is welcome. So please free yourself and just speak up. All right. So let me start. Let me give you a little bit of background. I'm going to cover a few slides in just to give a background why we are here today from the PPP perspective, what exactly happened. So as you may all recall, and in the month of April, the Congress passed a $2 trillion the CARES Act. And the beneficiary of those act was, there are 7 different groups and individuals, like people like you and me, and around $560 billion was allocated for that. And for small businesses, about $377 billion was allocated. And later on, the CARE Act 3.5, additional $310 was allocated for the small businesses. And of course, for the bigger corporation, about $500 billion, hospital 153, state and local government around 340, education 44 billion. So likewise, this whole purpose is this $2 trillion, the CARE Act was just to help back the businesses, hospital, state and local government, because life has literally have come to the pause. Economy is literally on a stop still moment. And this $2 trillion CARE Act did help very well to the small businesses. So coming back to the small businesses, the major instrumental in the small businesses is small SBA, and they had various programs. And the most popular program they had was the first 2. One is a PPP program, and second one was EIDL loan advance. And of course, they also have the small bridge loan program and SBA debt relief program. But most popular of these 2 are the first 2. And many of us did apply for PPP loan as well as EIDL. So I'm going to jump into the EIDL first, because the reason is that the EIDL, most of the people have applied the money for that one. And the purpose of the EIDL loan was, you can apply for up to a $2 million loan, and the SBA gave a $10,000, up to $10,000 as an advance based on $1,000 per employee. That program got closed back in April because there was no money left. And then the Congress reallocated additional $60 billion into the program, and the program got reopened again. But when it got reopened, it was only available to those businesses who are in agriculture businesses. And it is also expected that very soon they will open this program for the rest of the businesses as well. Under this program, as of May 8th, that's the latest statistics which is available to us, around 10 billion has been given as an advance to over 3 million businesses. This is only the advance where they gave the only $10,000. Now the SBA has already started giving a loan up to $150,000. Many of our clients to whom we know, they're already getting that a loan of $150,000 under this program. So if you did apply for EIDL, so you may be very well getting the EIDL loan approval, and that loan approval is coming via email. Soon as you get that email, it's only a 2 steps process, which takes less than a 5 minute. Soon as you complete those 2 process, in the very next day, the SBA is going to wire the money directly to your bank account. So back to PPP. So background of the PPP was any businesses who has been in business prior to the February of this year, and the total employee strength is less than 500 people, they are eligible for the PPP loan. And the maximum money allowed under that program was up to 2.5 times of the average salary, up to $10 million. So that was the basic background of this program was. And by definition, this PPP money is not a grant. It is not a free money. So when you receive the PPP money, by definition, it is a loan. Unless we go back and prove this loan need to be forgiven under certain guidelines. So it is very important because a lot of people had called me when the program started and they said, okay, it's a free money. This is why we're applying for it. This is not a free money. It can become a free money if you take certain steps and if you spend the money according to the various guidelines which the SBA has issued, then that money can become a free. And this is why they're using the word forgiveness. So if that money get forgiveness, then loan get converted into the grant, and the portion of the money which is not converted into the grant, it will continue to stay as a loan. And what stays as a loan need to be repaid in 2 years with an interest of 1%. So that's the heart of the presentation today is. So I applied for PPP money. What happened next? What do I do next? That's very important because as I said before, if we don't take all the steps carefully under the guidelines, the PPP money is going to stay as a loan. And if it stays as a loan, you need to pay it back. So which means you never got that money. It only helped you in the few months to handle your cash flow. But other than that, you did not get any benefit because you owe this money back to the government. So therefore, it is very important. We should take every possible steps to convert that money to the maximum, to the forgivable level, so that we don't have to return this money. So as I said, the goal is to do the maximization of the forgiveness. But at the same time, we should do our best to wisely spend that money also, because it can help you or it can hurt you, depending upon how you look at that money. So therefore, please review this money from your business angle. Even if I say you got to spend this money, it doesn't mean that you just throw your money and get the forgiveness. That is also not a wise thing to do it. I'm going to show you in a couple of examples. Sometimes goal should be to get the forgiveness. But at the same time, if you don't get the forgiveness, still it is not a bad deal. We're going to cover that also in a few slides. So what is the intent of this PPP was? Because the forgiveness, when we're going to look the whole program from the lens of the forgiveness, it is important that we should see why the Congress gave us this money. What was the intent was? The fundamental intent of this program was for the employers to maintain the headcount. Before the COVID-19 outbreak happened, what are the headcount we were maintaining in our businesses? We got to maintain that headcount. And at the same time, we should continue to pay the employee the same amount of money what they were making it before. That was the overall intent of the program was A, to maintain the headcount, and B, not to reduce their salary. So therefore, the people who are impacted are the individual people like you and me who go to work every day, whether we are a self-employed or we are an employee. At the end of the day, we are doing something. And therefore, the Congress intention was to keep us employed. So that was the whole idea behind the PPP program is. So this is important to remember that one, because the forgiveness is sort of tied with the intent of the program. So when the PPP money was given, the PPP money was given based on 2.5 times the your average payroll cost. It is important to understand what is the payroll cost is. The payroll cost includes your gross salary, which you pay to your employees, their health insurance, their retirement plan, and also the unemployment insurance, which the employer pays to the local unemployment, state unemployment. So those are 4 items which forms the payroll cost. So when I'm going to use the term payroll cost in the rest of the presentation, I am saying it is gross payroll, health insurance, 401k, employer contribution, and the state unemployment. These are 4 items that collectively makes the payroll cost. Therefore, anything outside that is not a payroll cost. So therefore, if I have an office, I have a business, if my payroll cost on a given month is $100,000, annualize it is 100 times 12, $1.2 million. So we take $1.2 million, divide by 12, on an average, I'm spending 100,000 times 2.5. So I'm eligible for $250,000 as a loan under the PPP. So the formula is very straightforward. You take your payroll cost and average it out on a monthly basis and times 2.5. That is the PPP money you're going to get. While we are on the definition of the PPP, let me remind everybody, PPP loan is still available. If any one of you has not applied for the PPP money, that is still available. So please tell your friends and family if they need money under the PPP program, the program is still open and it's still, you guys can still apply for that. So now come the forgiveness. So we know how to figure out the loan, PPP loan. So the question is, how do I get the forgiveness? The key component of the forgiveness is we have to spend the money within 8 weeks, which is equivalent to 56 days from the date the money is received in my bank account. So the day I receive the money, you count 56 days from that date. Within that time frame, whatever the money I received, I have to spend that money. The money which I don't spend, of course, remain as a loan. The portion which I spend, that is the only portion is eligible for the forgiveness. Please underline the word eligible for forgiveness. So meaning the money which I spend is become eligible for the forgiveness. It doesn't mean it will be forgiven. It becomes eligible for forgiveness. The money which is not spent, so by definition, becomes not eligible for forgiveness. Therefore, it is a loan. So if we continue to take the same example, so we borrowed $250,000 under the PPP program, and in the next 8 weeks, we end up spending a $200,000. So therefore, my eligible amount for the forgiveness is $200K, and amount which will remain as a loan would be $50,000. So that is the money which I have to return back to the government with a 1% interest. So the first rule is we got to spend the money in 56 days. In addition to ensuring that I spend the money, I also need to make sure I maintain my head count, what I had before. At the same time, I do not reduce the salary of my employee, not by more than 25%. It is okay to reduce their salary up to 25%. If their salary is reduced more than 25%, excess of 25%, you will get penalized and your forgiveness amount will reduce by the percentage in excess of 25%. Important things to remember is a lot of people had, when this program came out, they thought it is the total payroll cost before and after. If the delta is not at less than 25%, I'm okay. Wrong answer. This calculation has to be done for each employee. So therefore, if you have 3 employees, employee A, employee B, and employee C, if the employee's A salary is reduced more than 25%, employee B salary, let's say, got increased, employee C salary did not change. So you will still get penalized because we reduce the salary for employee A by more than 25%. So the calculation is not based on an accumulated salary for all employees. The calculation has to be done by each employee individually, one by one, and figure it out whether whether did I reduce the salary for any one of them or not. And the third rule is we have to spend 75% of the money on the payroll cost. So if I end up spending my total money less than 75% on the payroll cost, the difference of that less 75 and the amount I spend, you will get again penalized for that. So what I'm saying here is there are 4 conditions we need to meet in order to get the forgiveness. A, I have to spend the money within 56 days. Any money spent outside the 56 window will not be eligible, number 1. Number 2, money has to be spent on eligible items, which include your payroll cost, rent, utility, and the mortgage interest. Remember, it is interest, not the principal. So if you spend this money on the payroll cost, rent, utility, mortgage interest, that amount is considered as an eligible amount for the forgiveness, as long as the money gets spent within 56 days. Okay? If money which is not spent, by definition, is not eligible for the forgiveness. That's the rule number 1. Rule number 2, I have to maintain the head count. The number of people I had before, the number of people I'm maintaining within those 8 weeks. If I'm same count, I will not get penalized. If I have 4 employees before, and during 8 weeks, I reduce my head count from 4 to 3. So technically it is a 25% drop in my head count. So since there is a drop of 25%, I will get penalized 25% of my payroll cost. To that extent, my forgiveness will be reduced. Number 3, I have to maintain the same salary level. I'm allowed to reduce the salary up to 25%. If I reduce someone's salary in excess of 25%, whatever that excess is equivalent to the 8-week salary, to that extent, my forgiveness will reduce. And the last condition is 75 and 25 ratio. I must maintain 75% of the money which is getting eligible for the forgiveness. That money should be only for the payroll cost, and the remaining 25% should be for the non-payroll cost. And let me remind one more time, payroll cost equal to gross salary, 401k, employer contribution, health insurance, and state unemployment. Non-payroll cost includes rent, utilities, mortgage interest. So this is how the 75-25 ratio needs to be come up. The whole CARE Act, the day it came, even till yesterday, this whole program was rushed so fast because the Congress wanted to gain some brownie points, both Republican and Democrats. At the same time, they wanted to get the money to the people's hand. The entire act was so poorly written. There was zero clarification for the many definitions. Since then, many new guidelines has been published. And at the same time, a lot of politicians are also trying to make some changes in the law, which is already passed. The latest of that one is the efforts initiated by Mark Rubio. He's saying, let me show you what exactly he's saying in his own words. Come on. Why is not opening?
Many challenges has been by far the most successful part of the CARES Act. It's literally helped millions of people keep their jobs across the country. And throughout this process, we worked very hard to both make sure the program is improving every day, that the SBA concerns that we're hearing about, that they understand the legislative intent, and to keep all of you informed on updates about how the program works. Which is why the last 48 hours have been very troubling. In the last 48 hours, we have not been able to get anybody at SBA to provide us any information about round 2, about how much money is left, about who's getting it, about the application process.
So as you can see that the process has been very, very tedious from the day one. So last Wednesday on May 20th, he tried to put together a new bill where he's saying is, instead of giving us 8 weeks, 56 days to spend the money, because many of the businesses were totally shut down. If they were shut down, how are they going to spend the money on the payroll? Because nobody is willing to come back to the work to even work for. And people are started collecting unemployment. I have 500 clients in my practice, and many of them are in the hospitality industries and restaurants. They are saying that even if you open the business, there is no employee to come to work because they are getting a better pay under the unemployment program. How would I pay them? If I don't pay them, which means the money which I got as a PPP money, I have to return it back. So technically, the person who suffered the most is not going to get any help. So now under this proposal, they are saying is increase this PPP spending time from 8-week period to 12 to 26. It is very likely this may get passed. Therefore, your 8 weeks window may get doubled to 16 weeks. In addition to that, the other feature in that the proposal is the current PPP program is going to supposed to end on June 30th. So meaning those who needs money, they have to apply before June 30th. Under this proposal, they are trying to extend the deadline for the PPP program to December 31st. So technically from June 30th to December 31st, from 8 weeks spending time to 16 weeks spending time. So that's the proposal is on the table. And according to him, he has enough vote both from the Republican side and the Democrat side, and it is very likely it may get passed. So they take the recess for this long weekend. I think the first thing they're going to do after the long weekend is over, this bill is going to get presented in the Congress and then to the Senate. And President Trump also has nodded his approval. He's saying that, okay, he would like to pass that bill as well. So stay tuned for that one. That may be coming up. I'm going to skip these few slides because I'm going to take you directly, even though I said in a very simple format saying, okay, you got to maintain the headcount, you got to make sure your 25% salary level is maintained, you got to spend 75% money. But in order to do those calculations, there are certain complicated rule. How do I measure myself? Did I reduce someone's salary by 25% or not? Against what period I need to compare? Or did I reduce my headcount? What is my target number is, or period against which I'm measuring myself. So there are certain rules. I'm going to get back to those one. So right now, let us see the same thing what we learned so far through some examples. So let us take this first example. So there's a business A, we got $100,000 money, and the money was received in the bank account on April 24th. So therefore, I have 56 days to spend that money. So therefore, my spending time is April 24th to June 18th. So therefore, anybody who's listening, make sure if you got the money for PPP money, the first step you need to do is calculate your 56 days window, which starts from the day you receive the money plus 56 days, that's the money you have. Now the second piece come, let me spend the money. So in this particular case, we spend the money on the payroll, rent, utility, legal fees, tenant and contractor, mortgage interest. As you can see, out of these items, the two spending items are not eligible for the PPP's forgiveness, which is your legal fees and tenant and contractor. Only the allowed items are your payroll, your rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. Again, payroll includes your 401k, health insurance, and the SUTA taxes. So therefore, even though I got 100,000 and I did spend 100,000 or little more than 100,000 during 56 days windows, but my eligible amount would only be 60,700 because this 40,000 which I spent here is not eligible for my forgiveness. So as you can see, I ended up spending money in the wrong places. So therefore that impacted my forgiveness. So I should have been given 100,000. I did spend the money 100,000, but I spent in the wrong place. So therefore my eligible amount is 60,000. So let us assume all other conditions which we spoke earlier, all met. So in that case, $60,000 will be forgiven and the remaining 39,300 will remain as a loan, which we need to pay back in a 1% interest. So that's a very simple example how you track your spending within 56 days. Make sure the money gets spent on the eligible places only. So we're going to make this example a little bit more complicated now. We will build on the same example. So we stay same example. I got 100,000 and my eligible amount was 60,700 because this is where I spend the money. So my first rule I need to verify is my reduction in a salary rule. So in this example, I have 3 employees, employee A, B, and C. So let us assume all 3 of them making $1,000 per week before COVID-19. Now, during 8 weeks, employee A is making $500, employee B is making $1,250, employee C is making $800. So we can see employee A salary got reduced by 50%, employee B salary increased by 25%, employee C salary got reduced by 20%. If I aggregate all of that, the overall reduction in my salary is 15%. So a lot of people has a thought, they thought, okay, since my salary got reduced only by 15%, I'm okay. Wrong answer. Because employee A, that person's salary got reduced by more than 25%. So because of employee A, I will get penalized up to of the reduction. So 25% of the $1,000 times 8, that is the penalty I will bear. So therefore, my penalty amount would be $2,000. So originally, my eligible amount was 60,700. I got penalized 2,000. So therefore, my forgiveness is now reduced to 58,700. Originally, I spent 100,000. I got the hit because I did not spend money properly. I was down to 60,700. Now I'm down to 58,700, and therefore remaining 41,300 will remain as a loan. Let's build on the same example. So I got 100,000, 60,000. I got the eligible amount. I got the penalty in the salary reduction. So I was in my previous slide, I was up to 58,700. Now I have to verify myself on the FTE count. If I had an FTE 10 people on my payroll, now I reduced to my FTE count to 8. So my reduction is almost at 20%. So 20% of the salary is a $6,000. So here again, I did not maintain my FTE count. I got additional penalty of another 6,000. So therefore, from 58,700, I'm down to 52,700. So remaining 47,300 will remain as a loan. So we saw in the first slide, I did not spend the money properly. Second slide, I did not meet the salary rule. In third one, we saw now the FTE rule was not met. So I got penalized there as well. So let's consolidate all of that now. So I got 100,000. I spent the money 100,700. Again, these two items, 5,000 and 35,000 are not eligible. I'm down to 60,700. I did not maintain 75% salary. So I got penalty for $2,000. I did not maintain the head count. I'm down to 52. Now, the last piece I need to double check is the 30,000 which I spent, is that a 75% of my total eligible amount or not? In this case, it is not, because the 30,000, the whole number of that one would be 40,000. So therefore, this number should have been, I spent 12,700 less in order to maintain my 75 and 25 ratio. So therefore, I got additional penalty of 12,700. So now I'm down from 52,700 to 40,000. So if you now, my loan is 60,000, my forgiveness is 40,000. So that means I spent the whole money. I got hit because I did not maintain the salary level. I got hit because I did not maintain the FTE. No, I got hit because I did not maintain the 75 and 25 ratio. So therefore, my bottom line is I got forgiveness of only 40,000. No, you think from the cash flow perspective. I got 100,000 total. I spent the entire money. Out of that, 40,000 is only forgiveness. So that means the remaining $60,000, I have to pay it back in the next 2 years. So therefore, if you divide 60,000 divide by 24, which means that my monthly payment before interest would be around $2,500. And for certain small businesses, the $2,500 is going to be a lot of money. So therefore, as I said in the beginning, sometimes the PPP program can help you. It can also hurt you if you don't plan it properly. So what do we do now? I mean, the question is, what is next? How can I maximize that one? The first thing to maximize is we need to change our mindset. Like no standing anytime is no socializing anytime. Meaning we're changing ourselves, we are thinking differently. And that applies, even though it could be funny, but at the same time, it talks a lot about saying how we need to change ourselves. Similarly, do not block this area. Okay, no, we have got hand sanitizer there. Okay, do not hoard more hand sanitizer. Again, we got to make some change in our thinking in order to maximize the forgiveness. This is the most important. I like this is funny, but I like it very much. A lot of people ask me, okay, how the people are changing them to digital transformation. Some people say CEO is responsible. Somebody says CTO. Somebody COVID-19. So these are the cause. People are working remotely. The technology is taking place in the businesses, things like that. I like this very much. Now change is happening. The coffee filter was used as a coffee filter. Now we are using as a coffee filter also. So change is necessary. So this is my favorite quote from the Brent Brown. He said, when we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we got to write the ending ourselves. I think right now, whether it is a PPP loan forgiveness or anything else, we got to write our own stories. Therefore, when we write our own story, we are sitting on the pilot seat. We are controlling our affairs. We are controlling ourselves rather anybody else controlling us. So therefore, the first mantra to increase your forgiveness is you got to plan. You got to make a budget. So meaning you need to make a budget for the next 56 days where you will be spending money so that you can tweak that spending and see where I can make some adjustments. Maybe I can pay some more salary to one of my employees in order to increase my 75% ratio. Maybe I can bring it back that employees. So those are the mindset you need to tune yourself in order to defeat those failure which we are getting under all those 4 tests. I have put it in a very simple way. Right now, we are all tuned to PPP and we all says payroll protection program. That's the name of the program is. I'm saying start making a proper preparations to prevent the loan and increase the forgiveness. To change that 3P to different P3, proper preparation prevents the loan forgiveness. Loan at the same time increase the forgiveness. So therefore, the planning is very important. That is the key for you to increase your forgiveness. So where I can tweak myself, if let's say if I am one of those scenarios which we looked in the previous slides, where can I tweak myself? So before you tweak, the first important things to remember is you need to set up your good audit trail system, because when you're going to go for the forgiveness to the bank, they will be asking you some documentation. So make sure you maintain all the documentation of your spending and have a good audit trail. And we have been recommending to all our clients to open a separate bank account to keep that money there. And whatever money you spend for the eligible purposes, you spend from the new bank account where you're keeping this money. Watch your calendar. You have to watch your 56 days timeline. Limit your spending on the non-payroll cost. You got to maintain 75 and 25% ratio. Do not overpay the wages, which is very important. The maximum allowed amount is $15,384 in those 8 weeks for each employee. If you pay somebody, let's say $18,000 in those 8 weeks to an employee, one given employee, out of 18,000, only 15,385 would be counted. In a very simple format, 15,385 is arrived based on 100,000 annualized salary. If you take 100,000 divide by 52 times 8, that is 15,385. You have an option to hire back those people. If the people has gone, you can still consider to bring it back. The safe harbor rule is, even though your FT count has fallen, as long as you restore your FTE by June 30th, you will not be penalized. So therefore, not only you have to remember your 56 days calendar, you also have to remember this date, June 30th. If you maintain your count back to June 30th to the same level what it was, you are good. You will not get penalized because of the FTE reduction. Similarly, if you have an employee, like we saw employee A, where we reduced the salary by 50%, and because of that, I got penalized $2,000. If I restore the salary of the employee A to the same level by June 30th, I will not be penalized. So there is a safe harbor rule is already put in place to give you guys the safety net. And a lot of people, when I was talking to them, they even did not know that you can pay these following expenses also from the PPP money. So most of the businesses, generally we give them your leave encashment, year-end bonuses, employer match for the 401k, your profit sharing distribution. Generally those exercises are done either when you file your tax return before March 15th or you do sometime in December. However, you can spend those money today in those 8 weeks and take the benefit of this forgiveness. So this money can be spent on your 401k, your employer match, leave encashment, bonuses. If you're holding out to give any increases to one of your employees, that is the time to give it to them. Because remember, the money is not coming from your pocket. You already have the money. So therefore, you can afford to pay that money. If you don't, that money will sit in your books as a loan. So consider those areas to spend the money. Again, the documentation is very important. When you're going to go back to the bank, you have to go back to them with the full supporting documentation for every single spending you have. So therefore, and you have to self-certify yourself. And the money which is not spent is going to stay as a loan, which need to be paid back with a 1% interest in 2 years. And there is no payment in the first 6 months. So which means you have 18 months to pay that money. I have put together the few FAQs in the slide itself. And I think the most common one people have been asking question, money which I've been getting it, is that money is taxable? No, this money is not taxable. Whatever you have received is not going to be taxed on that one. So you're okay on that one. We have already pondered many times what is the definition of 8 weeks is 8 weeks period start from the day you get the money. The loan forgiveness is not going to happen automatically. You have to go through the process of doing all the calculation. You have to self-certify that one, provide all the supporting documentation. You have to take it to the bank, and this is how the process will happen. Any money you received under EIDL program, your forgiveness amount will reduce by that amount. So in our example, we stop at $40,000 where I said the amount is forgiven. If your business has received $10,000 as EIDL advance, the 40,000 will further get reduced by 10,000. So that means your forgiveness is only 30,000, 70,000 will remain as a loan. So therefore, if you have a spending to do, go back to my previous slide, think through that one, where can you spend those things which can help your business? I'm not asking to just start giving a salary left and right to all of your employees. That is not what I'm saying. If you think employees worked hard, they deserve the money, I have to give that money maybe a couple of months later or maybe in December. So you may want to consider to pay those now. If your business is already doing a 401k match, do that now. If your business is already doing a safe harbor, 3% safe harbor for 401k, do it now. If you give them the leave encashment, meaning some businesses has a policies at the end of the year, if you don't use leave, you are allowed to carry over 1 week and the remaining you can cash. You can do this encashment now and then pay that money now. So therefore, you can get a higher amount of the forgiveness. So what is not used is a loan. And does it cover a paid sick leave? Yes, it does. And can I rehire my people? Yes, absolutely. There is a very important guidelines which just got issued about a couple of days ago. If you are facing a scenario where you are not able to maintain your FTE count, neither you are able to restore your FTE count by June 30th. So which means you will definitely get penalized. However, in my example, I showed you, we had 4 employees and we are down to 3. And I continue to keep as a 3 all the way till June 30th. If I don't do anything, I will definitely get penalized. However, if that very employee who is not with you, if you try to bring that employee back, an employee refuses to come back, if you have documentation to support that, then you will not get penalized for that one FTE drop. It's very important. So therefore, if you have that scenario, go back and try to rehire that employee. Let them say that, let that employee say no to you. You document that one. That document is sufficient for you not to get penalized in the drop in the FTE. That guideline just came. Can lender can rely on the borrower's documentation? Absolutely, but they are going to audit that one. The SBA just issued another release, I think just last Thursday. Anybody who's got a loan in excess of $2 million, they are definitely getting audited. So their audit is required. That means every single documentation needs to be checked by a third party. And I spoke to many banks because I help many clients, and I almost spoke to 50 different banks when we applied for the loan. And many banks now they are saying is, since the whole forgiveness process is so complicated, they do not have a bandwidth to do that. How they're going to verify the documentation, nor they have any knowledge to do that because they're not accountant by definition. So I heard from them was they started hiring the outside accounting firm in order for them to verify the loan forgiveness documentation when it gets presented back to the bank. So therefore, even though it is a self-certified paperwork, when it goes to the bank, some other accountant is going to look into those paperwork, and you know how accountants are. They're not fun to work with.
Rajiv,
So this is
just
a
quick check of time. It's 10:50, so just wanted to remind you.
Yeah, sure. We are on the last slide. So the cautious on that one, even though our goal has been to increase the forgiveness, but at the same time, it is not a bad idea to not have that forgiveness if you have no reason to spend that money. If you are not getting any ROI on that spending, whether you spend that money on the employee as a bonus or leave encashment, 401k, or rebring that money, your goal, of course, should be to get the forgiveness. But at the same time, you should not be spending money just like that. Therefore, if you have no valid reason to spend the money on any of those categories, which is your payroll, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, don't spend. Then hold on to that money. Then keep that money, because if your business is continue to do bad, then that cash will help you to get some oxygen for a longer time. So therefore, think about that one before you say, okay, Rajiv told me, okay, spend the money. Okay, no, I'm not saying spend the money. You need to take a business decision to see it is wise to spend the money or not. Does it has any ROI on that my money which I'm going to spend on that my employee? Will I earn any loyalty from that employee? Would that employee will add any value to me or not? Or did that employee really deserve to get more money? You need to go through all this process in your mind before you make a decision. Okay, let me pay this person a salary. Raveesh, we spent right on time. Thank you very much for listening. And now we'll open the floor with any question anybody may have.
Excellent. Let me share my screen. Rajiv ji, I have, put these questions on the, on a slide, so, everyone can take a look at it.
Sure.
And give me 1 second. Here it goes. And you can get started and get going from there.
Hey, Raveesh, there was one more question just now. You can add that too, please.
Sure. So, Rajiv, you see my slides?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you have all the questions, a lot of good questions. So I'll leave it up to you to get started, and meanwhile I'll take a look at the last question that came in.
Sure, absolutely. The first question is, will PPP 100% can be forgiven? Yes, absolutely. The answer is correct. If we do spend that money 100% for those causes in the next 56 days and maintain a headcount and maintain the salary drop less than 25% and maintain the ratio of 25 and 75 between the non-payroll cost and the payroll cost, yes, the forgiveness would be 100%. You do not have to pay this money back. Does the SAP cost is included in the payroll cost? I'm not sure what the SAP is.
I think this question was from either him, Arun, I believe. Arun, do you want to clarify your question about SAP cost? Is this you're referring to the software or?
No, SAP is you contribute the money for
Yeah,
your
it's a SAP.
own retirement plan.
Yeah, okay. So it's a typo. So you're trying to say it is a SAP. Yes, absolutely. If your business has any SAP plan, profit sharing plan, cash balance plan, 401k matching plan, safe harbor plan, any of the retirement plan which you have put together for your employees, employer portion would be part of your payroll cost. However, if you are a self-employed, then the rules are a little different, because in case of a self-employed person, you do not have any payroll for yourself. You may have an employee as a self-employed person, then you need to rely on your Schedule C of your 2019. So whatever the number is on Schedule C of your 1040 on line 31, that is the number is you're going to use to count your forgiveness. And in that number, you're allowed to add your SCP cost as well. So what kind of a recording is needed to attribute this? Yeah, so the main umbrella of the costs are your payroll cost and non-payroll cost. Payroll cost, most of the payroll cost, most of the people are processing those one through ADP, Paychecks, so what are the platform you're using? All those reports you need to gather to support that money. Number one. For the non-payroll cost, for the rent, your cancel check is more than enough. For utility, the bill of your phone bill, gas, electric, that is more than enough. And then you have a mortgage. In the mortgage, remember, you are allowed to take only the mortgage interest, not the principal. When you write a check to the bank, you write the check for both principal and interest. However, the eligible portion of that money would be which is your interest. And even though this question is not there, but also remember, you are allowed to take the payroll cost, mortgage, and utility only for those contracts which were in place before February 15th. So meaning, if you had a lease which was already there before February 15th, so if you're paying a rent towards that lease, you can spend the money. If your lease started only after February 15th, then the rent payment is not eligible for you. So anything which was in existence prior to 215, you are allowed. Anything post 215, you are not allowed. Are they going to extend the 56 days? Yes, we right now the bill is being considered. And Mark Rubio is leading that efforts, and he believes that he had enough vote, and therefore the proposal is to increase that 8 weeks / 56 days period to 12 weeks or a 16 weeks. So it is not approved yet, but it is very likely it may get approved. Whatever the PPP for self-employed into hurry. Okay. So for a self-employed people, you need to go back to your Schedule C of 2019. So therefore, if you have not prepared your 2019 tax return, you have to prepare your 2019 tax return first. Then go back to your Schedule C. Whatever the amount you have on a line 31, you take that number. Let's say that number is 100,000. So then you take that 100,000, divide by 8. That much money you can spend every week in the next 8 weeks on all those purposes, which include payment to yourself, plus the rent, the utility, as well as your mortgage interest. Can we pay members of LLC since we had to fill out the work because of the employees? See, the member of the LLC by definition cannot be employee of the LLC, because LLC prohibits the LLC member / owner to act as an employee. So therefore, they are not eligible for that one. However, the money which LLC member gets, depending upon how you're structured, because your LLC can be a single member LLC. In that case, you're filing a Schedule C. LLC can also be a partnership, which then we are filing a 1065. LLC can also be a S corporation. That means you're filing a 1120S. LLC can also be a C corporation, which means you're filing 1120. So depending upon how your LLC is, In case of it is a 1120C, then you are allowed to put yourself on a payroll and you will become like any other employee. You pay yourself and you're eligible that. If you're an S corporation LLC, same rule applies. You can put yourself on the payroll, you pay yourself like anybody else, you're eligible for that. If you're a partnership LLC, in that case, there's a concept called guaranteed payment. Any payment which is guaranteed to the partner that is considered as an equivalent to the W-2 salary, then you need to count that number. If you are a single member LLC, which is Schedule C, then you have to rely on Schedule C, line 31 of your 2019 tax return. When we should file for the forgiveness after 50 days from the yes. Of course, you can't file before 56 days. The first loan which got disbursed was sometime in April 3rd week. So the Mark Rubio said in his speech, he said the person who applied first, the last week for that person is going to be the first week of June. That means the June 1st week, his 56 days is going to end. And we all know many states, they just started reopening only from this week. So therefore, 56 is totally out of the window. So that's the reason he initiated an extension for that, the 56 days. So therefore, whether it is a 56 days or if that get extended, whenever that happens, so you cannot apply for the forgiveness before that. And another disturbing thing is the application for the forgiveness was just got released last Friday. Last Friday at 5 o'clock, SBA posted the application for the forgiveness on their website. So it is only a week-long application, and there's already many question has been asked because the application and the instruction of the application itself is not very clear. So more guidance is going to come. So my gut feeling is nobody's going to file this forgiveness till June or after June. So this whole forgiveness will start post-June, regardless of when you got the money. Even the banks are not equipped, how they're going to ask the information from the borrower, how they're going to verify the information. So there's a lot of unclarity is there. So just sit tight. For you guys, if you have not gotten anything from this program, one thing you need to take home is you need to count your 56 days, make your budget, try to spend the money according to see what you can maximize within those 56 days. The budgeting is the key for your success. You can't do this exercise after 56 days and then regret saying, okay, geez, I'm in the water because I did not do what I'm supposed to do. That I wish I knew I can hire an employee. I wish I can pay my 401k. So therefore, your budget is very important to figure it out where you stand if you don't make any changes. Then you tweak your budget, work with your accountant, just sit down with your partners or with the owner, just do some exercise. That's what is going to make you successful in this forgiveness. Otherwise, you will end up returning this money, and the program, which the whole purpose of the program is to help you, is going to hurt you. Can PPP money can pay no new 401k. Remember I said any contract which was in existence prior to 2015, they are the one only eligible for this program. Anything which got initiated or contracted after 2015 is not going to work. Can PPP funds be used? Executive compensation plan, section 162. Yes, you can pay no matter what you call. Any money you paid to the owner is eligible, whether it's an executive compensation plan, whether you call it a bonus, whether you call it a guaranteed payment. The rule is as long as the money spent in those 8 weeks on the owner should not exceed more than $15,385, which is based on 100,000 annualized number. Take 100,000, divide by 52 times 8. That's the maximum money you can give it to the owner, no matter what you call. Forgiveness is for the payroll date or for the payroll. Yeah. So when the new form came last week, so the SBA release, they also brought a one twist in that thing, which was kind of helpful. We have been saying all along, your 56 days window starts from the date you receive the money. SBA has clarified that one. You have an option to select an alternative period of 56 days as well. And that alternative period is known as your first pay period, which starts after you receive the money. So meaning, if I receive the money on Thursday and my first payroll starts, let's say from Monday, so that means I can count my 56 days from the Monday, right? So if you are paying a monthly payroll, let's say, and you got the money in, let's say, May 28th, and your pay cycle is monthly. So your next pay cycle is not going to start till June. So technically, for monthly payroll people, your 56 days window is going to start from June 1st. So you have a lot of leeway with that. So you need to see when you make that election, what 56 days period you want, you need to figure it out. If I take the 56 days from the date of the loan, or I take alternative days, wherever it benefits you more, wherever you end up spending more money, that's the period you want to choose. Is hourly employees considered as a contractor? No. Our employee is an employee. 1099 is a 1099. So there's no such thing in the law which says I'm an hourly, therefore I'm a contractor. Either you are an employee or you're not an employee. If you are an employee, you are an employee and your payroll cost would be added in the calculation. If you're getting a 1099 and you're getting a 1099 form at the end of the year, then that money is not counted in the calculation. Can third-party warehouse storage charges qualify under the rent? Yes, if it is a rent, whether it's a third party or if it is a property owned by you and you self-rent it to your business, that is also eligible for a rent as long as the lease contract existed before 2/15/2020. What is before pay period, just before loan for employee count? Yeah, employee count, you will read in the slide, you have to check we call it a look back period. You have to count your FTE count either from your February 15th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019, or January 1 through February 29th, 2020, you count your average FTE count and take a lower of those two numbers, and that is the number, your target number of FTEs, which you need to maintain in your 8-week period. I have explained in very detail in my example in the slide. When you go through that, you will find the exact answer how to calculate your look back period for FTE. What is before period, just before loan or employee count? It is, as I'll explain to you, that same answer. If we hire a new employee, when do we compare his salary with to see if it is reduced by 20? For the new employee, there is no comparison. You can't say, I got an employee A whose salary got reduced. No, I got employee D who's a totally brand new employee and that person's salary is no. D cannot be compared with A. If A is maintained on the payroll, you need to maintain the salary of 25%. If the A is terminated, then you are not getting penalized because there is nothing to compare, because this guy is no longer in the payroll in those 8 weeks. So you are not on the payroll of 8 weeks. That means you are not supposed to do any testing of 25%. Your 25% rule testing has to be done only for those employees who are on the payroll in those 8 weeks. That means if I'm on the payroll in 8 weeks and I was on the payroll before, you need to compare only my salary. If I'm a new hire in that period, then you don't have to compare myself. Can you increase your own salary? Absolutely. You can increase your own salary. You can increase your employee salary as long as your total salary does not exceed 15,385 in those 8 weeks, whether it is you as an owner or whether it is your employee. Cap is 100,000 annualized basis per employee. What are the chances that 8-week program will be extended? I think I already answered that one. It is very likely, I believe that it is very highly that a period will be extended. Raveesh, next slide, please.
I don't have the slide for the other ones, but I have a few questions,
Sure.
Rajiv ji, I can quickly talk about. An owner of an LLC getting guaranteed payments for work compensation, how to handle that for loan forgiveness, as it is not a regular paycheck nor it is gone on the quarterly tax forms.
Yeah, so most of the documentation which banks going to look for the payroll documentation, with an exception of only 2 places. One is the person who's a self-employed or a person who's getting a guaranteed amount in case of partnership, because only in case of partnership the concept of the guaranteed payment comes, not anywhere else. That means you as a business owner should be filing a 1065. When you file a 1065 on your K1, there's a place where you show your guaranteed amount. So just to keep it simple, guaranteed amount is as good as your W-2. In case of your employee, you have a W-2/pay stub / your payroll report. In case of a guaranteed amount, which is equivalent to your W-2, you have K1 of your 2019. So therefore, if you are relying on your guaranteed amount for the purpose of this forgiveness, make sure you file your 2019 tax return, because they will be going back to 1065 K1 to trace that guaranteed amount. If you are a self-employed, they will be looking at a Schedule C.
Excellent. Rajiv ji, I'm just respectful of your time. There are a few more questions, 3 or 4. So we can quickly cover that if you're okay.
Sure.
If owner was not taking salary before, can they take it now during the 8-week period?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Okay.
You can, as long as you don't exceed 15,385 in those 8 weeks.
Okay. There is another question I think we have already covered, so I'll skip that one. Can you help how can self-employed people account for PPP loan forgiveness? I think you covered that number of times. Can owner replace an employee to maintain the headcount?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question, please. Say something for a loan more than 2
million.
2 million. What all to be taken care of?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, now the Congress has given a, sorry, not the Congress, the SB and Treasury has given a very clear guidelines. If your PPP loan amount is less than $2 million, they're not going to audit you. They're going to literally rely on your self-certification. If the loan does exceed more than $2 million, they're going to definitely audit you. And what it means is, which is troubling to a lot of people, is the very first certification which you do when you apply for the PPP loan is where you say, my business is impacted because of the COVID-19. So the question here is, how do I prove I'm impacted? So that's the question everybody's going to ask. How are you impacted? That's the first certification you do. So therefore, you need to watch your cash flow. You watch your top line of the sales. If your sale is continue to go up, you do not have any cash flow issues, how are you going to show that your business is impacted? Okay, so therefore you work with your accountant to figure it out how you're going to define the impact on the business. So it's a very tricky things. So I think you guys need to handle internally by working with your accountant.
Excellent. Rajiv, last question. Self-employed calculation for forgiveness. Can you elaborate that a little bit? And just for everyone's purpose, it's going to be last question, and then we'll quickly wrap up.
Yeah. So the Schedule C, the first thing is you got to file your 2019 tax return. That's required, number one. And once you file is, then refer your Schedule C, go to line 31. Whatever the number is there, up to 100,000, that number could be less than 100,000, can be more than 100,000. But up to 100,000, you can use that money on a prorated basis, meaning in those 8 weeks. So meaning you can still draw as an owner 15,385 for yourself out of that money. And you can pay the rent if there's any rent for the remaining amount. You can also pay the mortgage interest. You can also pay the utilities. All those stuff you can do that. If you are a self-employed, you have a SEP account, you can use that money for that as well. So your key for that one is your Schedule C, because bank is going to ask for the Schedule C, and they're going to compare your number by 31 days, line 31.
Excellent. I think there is one more question. Rajiv, probably you can check your chat from Ranjit Khanna, was sent to you directly. And I think, just this is going to be the last question for the day.
Oh, he said he sent to me directly. I had to find him now. Ranjit, can you please resend that question? Because I had to find that question. Let me see if I can find it. Ranjit Khanna.
That's okay, Rajiv. I mean, if I think there is one more question that is coming regarding the EIDL grant repayment. That $10,000, whatever the initial, I think, the grant that is given, is that forgivable, or does that have to be returned back?
No.
I think that was the question earlier.
That's fine. So EIDL money is the 10,000. You are the SB has given $1,000 per employee, maximum $10,000. That's the money they disburse. They have already disbursed more than a $9 billion under that program to 3 million people. So whatever the money you received, that is a 100% grant. You are not supposed to return this money, period. So you can keep this money. You can spend that money anywhere you want. There's no restriction whether you have to spend this money on a payroll or not. The only rule is you have to spend the money on your working capital, meaning your day-to-day expenses, number one. Number two is that money which you received, if you also see the PPP money, whatever the forgiveness you have to calculate, you have to subtract that money. So in our example, we stop at $40,000. So if you receive $10,000, you need to reduce 10 out of 40. So your forgiveness amount which will be forgiven to you will be $30,000. Then the second piece of EIDL is a loan. So when you get the loan, even you receive the loan under EIDL program, your 10,000 which you received, it is not going to change your loan amount either. So you are safe. So 10,000 is your 100% free money.
Excellent. And last question, I think that was from Ranjit. I'm just paying rent with the PPP loan, but furlough all my employees. Will the rent paid be forgiven even though it is 100% of the amount spent?
No, because you are not going to maintain your 75-25 ratio.
Okay.
Because 75% money must be spent on the payroll. If your payroll is zero, your forgiveness will be zero.
Okay. Cool. I think that wraps up, Rajiv, all the questions. Thank you very much for this information and a lot of knowledge. I hope this was, I just want to let you know, there were a lot of appreciative comments that were in the chat that came, and a number of people thanking you for this event. So again, thanks from on everyone's behalf. Just before we go, I just want to highlight, we have a site called punjabichamber.com, and you can, give me 1 second, I'm sharing my screen. You can go to the site, sign up, and we will be conducting a number of these events, not just for us, but for our kids as well, from mentoring and all standpoint. So just be on the watch and make sure that if you can communicate to your other, family members, friends, do bring them back here. I also want to highlight there are various chapters across the globe now, that have opened, that is, being either instantiated now or is in progress. The Toronto chapter is getting launched today, as we speak. So, just spread the word. That would be very helpful. And again, I just want to quickly highlight, back regarding the presentation will be sent across to everyone, so you guys can take a look at it. You can register on in the DC, for the DC area, you can join our chapter. I mean, there is no cost involved, there is no money involved. It's more, we are all volunteers helping each other grow. And again, for the Washington DC chapter, I have Parminder on the line as well, and Rajiv ji went through that. And Parminder, do you want to quickly take a minute?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. I know it's a difficult time, and Rajiv ji, excellent presentation as always. You're awesome. And Raveesh, thanks for stepping in and running through it. Thanks for folks spending the time and learning about this important topic. If there is more interest, we can schedule another one in the next few weeks. But we, like Raveesh said, we'll be doing other meaningful and timely presentations. And if you guys have ideas that you want to volunteer and help us create more awareness about current topics and things that you are knowledgeable about, you want to share with the community, please step up and we'll be happy to organize and do all that for you. Thank you so much.
Rajiv ji, any last word before we wrap up?
No last word. Just plan. Budget. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yep.
That's all I can say. Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Rajiv ji. This was really informational. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, spread the word and join the community to help each other. You guys all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Parminder. It was good.
Thank you, guys.